Looking back at clips of his early cooking shows, it's easy to see why Emeril Lagasse became a beloved staple in the Food Network lineup. We've rounded up some highlights that demonstrate why Lagasse remains such a legend. In 1993, producers at the Food Network were debating who should host their upcoming new program, How to Boil Water, a show dedicated to teaching home cooks kitchen basics. Emeril Lagasse at 33 was totally unproven as a television host, but he was chosen for his youth and appeal to female viewers, according to From Scratch, the uncensored history of the Food Network.
Food is my life. I love to cook. I love to eat. I love wine.
Lagasse was initially hesitant to take the job. He'd already been awarded Best Southeast Regional Chef by the James Beard Foundation, along with coveted restaurant awards for Emeril's and Nola, his two restaurants at the time. He told a producer, "Gee, I don't know. I'm going to teach people how to boil water? I'm going to show them how to make grilled cheese sandwiches?" Ultimately, he decided it was worth a shot, and that first foray into television launched his television career. Lagasse hosted the show for a couple of years before launching namesake programs of his own, but the long-running series still airs today, hosted by chef Tyler Florence and comedian Jack Horrigan.
I would not have a job today if Emeril didn't bust out this entire business. This is the man that created it for all of us.
Around the time Lagasse was filming How to Boil Water, he was chosen by Julia Child to star in the premiere episode of her new PBS show, Julia Child, Cooking with Master Chefs. The 1993 episode highlights what had propelled Lagasse to early fame: new ways to celebrate New Orleans cuisine. He prepares shrimp étouffée on set and finishes with a backyard crawfish boil.
Well, Julia, my friend, we're in for a treat.
As Lagasse pours the contents of a giant pot onto a paper-covered table, Child remarks,
I've been in New Orleans a number of times. I've never had a crab boiled before, and it's about time, isn't it?
Lagasse shows her the proper way to eat the crawfish, which he affectionately calls mudbugs. He twists the heads off and sucks out the juice before peeling and pinching the crawfish tails to release the seafood within. According to From Scratch, Lagasse boasted later that he taught Child how to suck head and pinch tail. If Lagasse's first Food Network venture was about proving he was ready to host a show, his first namesake program, Essence of Emeril, was about showcasing his mastery of New Orleans cuisine. Essence of Emeril premiered in 1994 and included callbacks to his How to Boil Water days. In episode 3, Lagasse spent several minutes breaking down a whole chicken, pointing out that buying a whole chicken is cheaper per pound than purchasing pre-cut portions.
It just drives me crazy sometimes to see how expensive cut-up chicken is and how inexpensive whole chicken is.
He then stuffed a whole chicken with a medley of carrots, celery, and onions, adding whole garlic cloves under the skin for extra flavor. He seasoned it with rosemary, salt, pepper, and a Creole spice mix for extra oomph. Lagasse showed viewers how to create a roasting rack if they didn't own one. Layer carrots and celery stalks and potatoes and onions plus seasoning, and there's no need for extra kitchen equipment. The episode was No Frills Lagasse at his finest. Lagasse is fond of catchphrases like "kick it up a notch." He's also known to shout "bam" at seemingly random intervals.
Bam, 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 bam.
Early in his TV career, Lagasse spent most days in New Orleans running his restaurants and traveled just a couple days each week to film his shows. As a result, they often filmed up to 8 episodes per day to stay on schedule. At the beginning, the crew's lunch was whatever Lagasse had cooked in the 5 episodes they filmed in the morning. Speaking to Rachel Ray, he recalled how everyone would stuff their faces at lunch, then wind up in food comas.
So bam came from, I woke everybody up.
Lagasse referenced his Massachusetts upbringing often. His mother Hilda was Portuguese, and the chef frequently credits her for fostering his interest in cooking. In a 1995 episode of Essence of Emeril, Lagasse prepared salt cod, called bacalhau, Portugal's national dish. The cod is cured with salt as a means of preservation that doesn't require refrigeration. To cook with it, you soak it in a mixture of milk and water until it's completely submerged. Lagasse's mother soaked the salted cod for at least a day, changing the liquid and rinsing the cod every few hours. Lagasse used this cod in a traditional dish with potatoes and onions and salt cod cakes.
Hilda would be proud right now of this dish.
In addition to the salt cod, Lagasse said one of his favorite childhood food memories comes from eating his mother's fava beans. She first cooked the dried fava beans to rehydrate them, then stewed them with onions, bell pepper, herbs, tomato, and water. Lagasse adds copious amounts of chorizo to his version, a spicier version of the original. Essence of Emeril ran intermittently on the Food Network from 1994 until it was canceled in 2007. By the late 2000s, food programming was changing. Cooking competitions and traveling hosts were gaining in popularity.
It's become this, food as a competition, like a sport is all I can say.
Plus, Lagasse's paycheck, the first on food-centric networks to top $1 million according to a from-scratch excerpt, made his show expensive to produce. Early on, viewers got sneak peeks into the makings of dishes Lagasse was serving in his restaurants. In the intro to The Starters episode, which aired in 1995, Lagasse explained,
You gotta really choose the starters and sort of balance the whole meal around the beginning.
He taught viewers how to make corn cakes with fresh corn and Louisiana caviar, shrimp crusted with andouille sausage, and seasoned breadcrumbs, and seared yellowfin tuna with fresh pico de gallo and cilantro oil on toasts. As Lagasse's popularity grew in the mid-1990s, the door opened for a higher energy show, Emeril Live, which began airing in 1997. It featured Lagasse with an opening monologue, a live band, and a studio audience packed with eager fans. The show also featured occasional guests, including famed chefs like Julia Child. In 2001, Lagasse paid tribute to Child, whom he called his dear friend, in an episode featuring classic Julia recipes. Child joined him in the kitchen to create cream of leek and potato soup, cheese soufflé, roasted chicken, and a tarte tatin for dessert. Lagasse attempts to sauté the leeks to start the soup, but Child jumps in to say he doesn't need the extra step.
Well, you don't even have to saute them.
All that's required is to simmer all the ingredients together and then puree it afterward.
We're gonna do it your way.
Good.
All right.
That's the simplest.
Child was almost 90 years old when the episode aired, but she's still full of verve as she assists Lagasse in the studio. Though Lagasse is a star in his own right, by this point, he defers to Child throughout the episode, a mark of respect for the legend she was. In 2001, Lagasse starred in an NBC sitcom called Emeril. It was by all accounts a disaster of a show and didn't make it to a second season. But for a moment, fans and viewers got the chance to see Lagasse as an actor rather than a chef.
Right now, you're giving me like a heart attack.
The show was a fictionalized, behind-the-scenes look at life on the set of a cooking show, with Lagasse playing the chef. Lisa Ann Walter and Sherry Shepard were in the supporting cast. Walter told The Hollywood Reporter it was the only show she's ever worked on that had a separate kitchen behind the stage, just for Lagasse to show off his real-life skills, saying, "Everything on the stage smelled glorious. He would cook for us all day. His banana cream pie was to die for." The series faced immediate challenges. The first episode aired just 2 weeks after 9/11, when the public wasn't yet ready for lighthearted fun. Critics and even those involved with the show itself weren't impressed with Lagasse's attempt to bridge the gap between television host and actor. Show creator Linda Bloodworth Thomason told The Hollywood Reporter, "I love Emeril, but he was expected to become an actor overnight and it just didn't work. You can't script Emeril."
Remember, Em, just be yourself.
Lagasse hosted a number of Mardi Gras specials on his shows over the years, and the open house episode of Emeril Live was one of the more high-energy versions, complete with Lagasse and his guests in beads and Mardi Gras masks. The episode aired in 2004, and by this point, Lagasse had figured out how to perform for his audience. He's animated and lively, effortlessly tossing out his catchphrases to give the people what they came to see.
This is a real cooking show, you see?
The focus of this Emeril Live episode was to prepare dishes people could serve during house parties in the Mardi Gras season. Bloody Mary granita shooters with fresh shucked oysters, chicken andouille casserole, cola ham, and praline pecan pie are all on the menu in honor of the holiday. Emeril Live propelled Lagasse to true star status, but his Food Network show was canceled in 2007, not long before the Food Network also pulled the plug on Essence of Emeril. Both were studio-based shows in an era when celebrity chefs were now on the road. What's more, Emeril Live required hundreds of thousands of dollars to film each week, compared to around $40,000 for similar network shows. Lagasse wasn't pleased and didn't take the network up on offers to compete on Iron Chef or other alternatives. A few years later, he settled into a new show format on Emeril's Table. It was an intimate set, and Lagasse cooked for just a few guests at a time. The show aired on the Hallmark Channel and was produced in conjunction with Martha Stewart Living Omni Media. In fact, Lagasse filmed all 52 episodes of Emeril's Table in Stewart's own studio over a period of less than 6 weeks. In the gumbo episode, Lagasse teaches his diners to use a 50-50 ratio of flour and vegetable oil over low heat to start the roux.
Just because you're making a dark roux, people think that you have to have the heat just totally fired up, like high heat.
Then you stir with a wooden spoon until it's the depth of color you're looking for. According to Lagasse, it's more about how long you're willing to stir it rather than using intense heat to get a dark-colored roux, and then…
If you can make the roux, you can make a great gumbo.
If you were lucky enough to score a seat on the Emeril's table set, you were often able to cook side by side with Lagasse as he demonstrated how to make some of his favorite recipes. In an episode about making classic meatballs, Lagasse has one of his guests hand-mix the meatballs while he adds the ingredients. The secret to an amazing meatball texture, Lagasse said, is in the binding ingredients. Instead of using breadcrumbs or an egg, Lagasse uses fresh bread that's pinched into small pieces and soaked in milk. He then adds a blend of ground beef and Italian sausage, plus seasonings and herbs for extra flavor. The mixture is shaped into palm-sized balls, which Lagasse calls his big boy meatballs. As he says,
It's like if you're going to have a meatball, you might as well have a meatball.
the Hallmark Channel wasn't the only network to work with Lagasse in 2011. That year, he also hosted The Originals with Emeril on the Cooking Channel.
Well then, I guess it's time to take it up a notch.
At first, he balked at the idea of traveling outside the Food Network studio, but a few years later, he hit the road to showcase iconic restaurants that have impacted American food culture. In one episode, Lagasse visits Boston's Omni Parker House Hotel, where he started his career as a sous chef. The Parker House is the home of Boston cream pie, as well as Parker House rolls. While there, he points out a table where Julia Child praised him for his periwinkles, or snails, in champagne butter sauce back in 1979. During his visit, Lagasse cooks scrod with the current executive chef. Scrod is a term given to whitefish like cod that's the youngest or freshest catch of the day. It's soaked in heavy cream, white wine, garlic, paprika, and salt and pepper, then breaded in none other than Ritz crackers and baked.
I remember this dish 30 years ago. Pretty much nothing has changed.